So, for the second time in a month, the media experienced a reverse Christmas, expecting a pony and getting punched in the face. Here's tape of CNN earlier.
What is it? What is it?
I don't want it. I don't want it. No.
Terrible.
Ah, poor media. They built a whole imaginary industry around Russian collusion, desperately expecting something huge that validated their 2-year efforts and emotions. Their hearts, careers, and pocketbooks rested on Trump being a Russian spy. Right, Brian?
The U.S. president possibly working for the Russians. Possibly an unwitting pawn. Something the FBI was investigating. Why are these leaks happening? And why are they happening now? What does Robert Mueller know?
It was not to be, my little round fella. The fantasy of Trump as a Russian agent was just that, a fantasy. Now all they've got left is more empty accusations. The worst part, the media would have preferred that the president had been a Russian stooge, even if it destroyed a country. Hence their reaction today.
Bill Barr has decided his legacy, he is fine with his legacy being the AG who took one for the team.
It was an extraordinary political commercial for the president.
A real black mark on his long and previously distinguished career. He blew it.
He said precisely, Jake, what the President of the United States wanted to hear: no collusion.
Is this something that we are supposed to see from the Attorney General of the United States, not the Attorney General of the President of the United States?
Of course not.
That's the entire CNN staff. So when your reality is a failure, then the fairy tale becomes reality. So it's analogy time. Remember in high school you had a friend who got dumped and it was the worst thing ever? He sulked and he wouldn't change his socks for the rest of the school year. He couldn't let go. But you, a friend, knew you had to get him to move on. So you told him, dude, move on, live your own life. So media, I'm your pal. It's time to move on. Yeah, you got dumped and it hurts, but clinging like this makes you look weak and stupid. It prevents growth, new relationships, new obsessions, new loves. And there are other stories out there. What's great about Trump, a new story is like a bus. You miss one, there'll be another in 10 minutes. So cheer up, press. Go to the gym, ditch the donuts, make yourself presentable. Because right now, no one wants to be with you. Not like this. You're pitiful, pathetic even. There's so many fish in the sea. Why not catch a real one this time? So, Dana, watching their reaction tells you what would the outcome have been if it were the opposite? Like, how would they have reacted?
Oh, I was thinking about that earlier today. Like, just, well, and also for us.
Yeah.
Right? What would it have been like to be like, whoa, then and it was
we would have been fair. Dana, we would have been fair and balanced.
I would have figured out a way to spin it.
No, but I tell you what we wouldn't do. We wouldn't have 14 people who agree with each other around a table.
No, we would not
I mean,
do
it seriously was.
I do think on the media, there's something interesting. There were some stories that turn out to be true, right? So for all the stories where they said President Trump is wanting to fire Mueller this weekend, right? Well, turns out, yeah,
that's what bosses always do.
Okay.
I want to fire somebody every day.
But there was remember that persistent rumor, and it came up all the time, that Don Jr. expected to be indicted. Don Jr. is telling friends he expects to be indicted. Like, that doesn't look like that could possibly be true. I don't know about that. I am so excited to talk about other issues.
I want to stay on this all week, Dana.
Go,
well,
Jesse.
This week's fine, but Infrastructure Week?
Jesse, I believe you have an analogy on deck.
I do. Remember the movie The Fugitive?
Yes.
Richard Kimball.
I saw that one.
Falsely accused, imprisoned, chased.
Yes.
He was innocent. And what did he do? He eventually found the real killer. In this case, the real killer is Hillary and Obama. Now, let's get back to what we were talking about.
Terrible analogy.
Another great analogy.
I actually like that one.
That was actually
he
good.
just compared it to a movie plot. That's not an analogy.
Okay. Gee, the analogy police kind of harsh over
I'm
here.
sorry.
All right. Here's what I think about the media now. Mueller was the hero. The hero did not deliver. So now Nadler becomes the hero. But Nadler isn't smart enough, telegenic enough, trustworthy enough, moderate enough, smart enough, anything to take the torch from Mueller and carry it across the end zone. He doesn't have anybody behind him saying, you know what, you are the new white knight. At this point, it looks like the obstruction case is too thin for the media to sell in a sexy way. The audience isn't going to love it the way they loved collusion because it's too confusing. And they don't have anything anymore, and they're going to have to move on to something else.
Marie, can they move on? They seem to me like bitter clingers.
Ooh. Where have I heard that before?
I
actually think the Mueller report did deliver. I'm not underwhelmed by it. I'm not
Delivered for Trump.
No, Jesse.
100%.
It did not.
No collusion, no obstruction.
That's not what it said. You can keep saying it over and over again, but you saying it doesn't make it true.
There was no one charged with collusion.
That reminds me,
and no one was charged with obstruction.
That reminds me of the
That's
movie
about as clear as
Beetlejuice.
possible.
When you just say Beetlejuice three times.
The thing here, though, is what I want us to read this, and we can be disturbed by things in it with what Russia did, independent of the Trump campaign, with the things that Trump has done. Like, we can admit that we don't have to just go to our corners, right? Our political corners. We can read it and say, you know what? If I was on a presidential campaign, I wouldn't have done it that way. I wouldn't have tried to accept help from the Russians. Like, that's okay for Trump supporters to admit. I'm giving you permission.
I thank you. Dan, you got permission. You got permission to agree with her.
I'm going to invent a new fallacy here. This is a new one. It's called the negative information fallacy. You're conflating negative information against the Trump team. Yes, the report is not all flattery all the time. I get that. People make mistakes. They're human. But because it's negative information, again, Marie, does not mean the Trump team committed a crime. No one was charged with those crimes, and I don't know why you can't get past this. There is no evidence of an established connection in this collusion. It is a fraud. Can you just, take the loss on this and say, I made a big mistake. I'm sorry to America. I should not have accused Trump of colluding.
She shouldn't have to do that based on this report. I don't think she should have to do that.
Thank you. No. And why shouldn't I have to, Dana?
Because I do think that you can read it and go, wow. I think the Democrats should say, we accept that there's no collusion, and they said the president was a traitor.
No, Dana, here's the problem with that.
I think that one should be. But I think you can read that as a Democrat and read the obstruction piece and go, gosh, this is really terrible.
I read it as an American, and I'm happy our president is not a spy.
I would agree with you.
Because he's too stupid. I said that on March 24th.
He's not that stupid. He beat the pants off Hillary.
But there was never. That's the problem. There was never evidence of collusion, ever.
All right. This is too much fun. I think we should make the 5 3 hours today. Huh? Just blow out those other shows.